My name is Don Miller Jr. I'm with EXP Realty, and I'm here with my good friend Tony Garza, who is in San Antonio, Texas. And he was just telling me that it's kind of humid down there today, so I kind of feel for you. So Tony, just say hi, and we'll get into asking you some deep dive drilling questions to really put you on the spot.
Sure, absolutely. Hey guys, I'm Tony Garza, San Antonio, Texas. Born and raised down here. True Texan through and through. Now some people may not like that, but it's all right. We love it down here. So we're used to the heat. We don't get a lot of snow. Sometimes we wish we did. But yeah, no, it's great.
What do they say? Don't mess with Texas, huh?
That's what they say.
Okay. No, I'm mostly, as I mentioned, I'm mostly when I spoke previously or a message with you is mostly about your journey to EXP. So that's mostly what we're going to be covering. I might have some other questions in there, but
Sure.
so tell me a little bit. Where did you start, and where did you start? How did you get involved? What got you into real estate?
Well, actually, it's kind of an interesting question. In my family, we're either real estate or in the food business. So my father, our family, grew up in the food business. His sisters were in real estate. But my aunt always told me to get into real estate. So I got my license, and I figured, well, you know what, better time than now that our business kind of got cut in half, and so my family was pretty supportive of it. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to go get my license. I got my license. I didn't tell my aunt, who was a big broker in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
I got my license, and I joined the company she was with, right? So I didn't understand all of that at the time. So she owned a big, what is it called, Coldwell Banker agency down in,
wow.
yeah. So I don't know if it was Seal Beach or Long Beach, but they kind of run next to each other. So that whole territory area in California. So anyway, long story is I called her up and I said, hey, guess what? I just got into real estate. And she says, you did? She goes, well, what did you do? I was like, well, I got my license. And she kind of laughed. She goes, what'd you do that for? And I said, well, you told me to get in real estate. And she said, not exactly what I was thinking. She says, now you ruined yourself. That's what she told me. She's like, no, I wanted you to go buy properties. I was going to help you, build a portfolio, this, that, and the other. So anyway, I got into real estate. I had joined Coldwell Banker. I was there for about a year, a little over a year. Didn't make any money. And so I migrated over to Keller Williams, and I was there for 6 years. So I guess you could say I kind of grew up there, and I did really, really well. In 2012, I got my broker license, and I decided, hey, I'm going to maybe do a few things on my own because our broker here didn't allow us to really, we could buy and flip homes, but we weren't allowed to buy our own and sell our own property.
Sure.
So so I ended up going out on my own, bought, not really say bought a franchise, but kind of built a franchise model that was here because the previous person who had San Antonio was, Trek removed his license, Texas Real Estate Commission. So that wasn't a good thing. So everybody was left without a broker, and they said, hey, you're a broker. I was like, yeah, but I didn't want that responsibility. So they talked me into it, and I did that, and I built up an agency of about 55 agents. I started with 0. Decided, hey, you know what, this is not fun, as I had too many things going on with other agents that, were licensed. And of course my license was on the line. So I said, hey, you know what, I'm done. So I sold my portion of the business, and I was actually headed back to Keller Williams. And then they talked to me about EXP, some friends of mine, and I looked at it, and, I was like, wow, recognized the model. And I joined over here at EXP in 2016.
Wow. It's interesting because we have a pretty similar backgrounds. I got licensed 20 years ago, been broker for 15, and had my own small company, mostly on the investing side of the business. But I encourage all the agents I talk to, I absolutely get a broker's license, but never open a brokerage.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's the liability and the responsibility and the opportunity to compete against some of the big companies, particularly as the market, like now when the market is tightening up with the shortage of volume. So no, but that's great. It's interesting that your journey there. Well, let me ask you this. So now looking back and at your career, what would you do? What would you tell yourself then that now that would help move things a little bit further along for you?
Wow. That's very interesting because when you work for a big box brokerage, you have to follow all of their rules, and you have to
Sure.
follow everything that they put in place for you, because that's what you sign up for. Mhm.
Now you are part of a team, I believe, called the Premier Group, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I'm
And
a team
now,
leader here in San Antonio for the
oh,
Premier Group. Right.
okay, so you're the team leader for San. I was going to ask you that. So
Mhm.
how many agents are in part of your group down there in San Antonio?
We have about 5 right now. We're new to this market.
Oh
Um,
wow. Uh-huh.
yeah, so we're small right now, but
Uh-huh.
we're getting ready. There's quite a few people we're adding. I did add a team leader in Houston,
Uh-huh.
and she's one of my partners. She's been with me since 2016.
Hmm.
She's building Houston. She's doing a phenomenal job. And then I'm working also
Wonderful.
in attracting some new agents and team leaders in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Um,
Wow.
and Austin, but I don't have a lot of footing right now in Austin, even though it's 70 miles away, completely different market. But
Sure.
yeah, but I have a lot of contacts in Houston and Dallas. I do have a few in Austin, but we're just trying to grow, and I'm trying to get some agents, into that market. So I'm within the 100-mile radius of where I need to be for Austin, but it is a different market. I mean, different
Sure.
MLS, different group, different numbers. The most expensive place to live in Texas. So the market has shifted, even though I've done business in Austin in
Hmm.
2013, 2014, 2015.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I think that being part of the Premier Group that gives the group the opportunity to play in different markets without
Mhm.
having all those franchise fees that you might have at, say, Keller Williams or some of the other brokerages. So it cuts down significantly on the cost of being part of an organization like that within EXP. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's pretty
absolutely.
fascinating. Hmm.
Yeah, so and
Um,
I think that's a really cool point there, because I even at EXP we have that, but the Premier Group offers it's EXP plus.
mhm.
We have our own system in place, and we're growing internally within EXP, and we have that support. But we have some groundbreaking technology that a lot of brokerages have to pay a tremendous amount of money for. And
Mhm.
you're right, it's like having taken my old company, which I, you know, wouldn't do. I did only migrate about 10 agents over from 55 agents for a reason. But at the same
Mhm.
time, we, yeah, it's a unique system. Let's just put it that way.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, you joined initially with Caldwell Banker, and you've been with Keller Williams, had your own brokerage. Um, Moving to EXP, looking prior to EXP, are there times when you just really felt stuck, and you just needed a change, and EXP is something that just made a lot of sense to you? I know it did for me, but is there times that you just felt stuck in the past that you were able to get resolved by moving into EXP?
Oh yeah, by far. I mean, I can say from the very beginning when I was at Coldwell Banker, when I got my 1099 at the end of the year, when you sell a little over 2 million in sales, you close 2 million, and then you get traditionally, we'll just say at 3%, it's about 60,000 minus a few
Hmm.
things. And I looked at what I had, and I made a third, actually less than a third of that. I was, I was like, man, I worked my butt off. I did this my first year in business. And they said, oh, you did great. I'm like, yeah, well, my money didn't show that. And so when I was stuck there was like, wow, how do I make more money doing the same thing over and over and over and over again?
Hmm. Yep.
So I noticed a migration of some friends of mine that had gone to Keller Williams, and they said, hey, Tony, you really need to check this out. We make a lot more money over here. And so, I was 1 year into real estate, and I said, okay, yeah, let me come over and check it out. So I met with the broker and everything. They showed everything. They laid everything out. They gave me an office for $25 a month. And I was like, wow, that's it. 25 bucks a month. He goes, yeah, we own the building. There's a lot of agents. We have 250 and not all of them come in. So we do have some office space if you want it for 25 bucks a month. And I'm like, okay, but I'm talking about the split now. If I do this, and so he broke it down for me, and he showed me the numbers, and I was like, okay, I think I'm convinced. I saw the numbers. I saw the writing on the wall a long time ago, and so for me, it was an easy switch. It
Hmm.
was hard because those are the people originally that were helping me, but for me, for my family, I was like, oh, you know what, this is gonna be better, and it was a lot better. But then again, I wanted to get into investing, and this is 6 years later, and I'm looking at it and going, I think I need to do something different because I'm not allowed to do this, that, or the other. So I thought I got my broker license. Let me do it on my own. So I came to that point also.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got tired of my other point, going to my own brokerage, is having, going through the whole thing and then finding out that a lot of my agents had no clue of how to do real estate. And I had one of these 100% brokerages everybody wants to go to because I get 100% of my commissions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But they don't do the work that's needed,
No.
to, or follow directions or whatever. Now, granted, I did have quite a few good agents. And I worked heavily with those people. I try to do things for others, and it came down to the 80-20 rule, 90-10 rule, whichever way we look at it. And bottom line, that's what happened. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to go back to Keller Williams. And on my way back, some friends of mine contacted me and said, hey, how's your brokerage going? I said, well, guys, I'm actually headed back to Keller Williams. And they're like, oh yeah, you got to check out EXP. And I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. Didn't know anything about it. So This is 2016, right? At the beginning of 2016. And I looked at it and I was like, I said, Dad, this is not real. And they're like, oh yeah, it's real. But once I saw everything, because I was so integrated with Keller Williams at the time, that when I did see EXP, I was like, it made perfect sense. Yeah. I'm like, well, it's basically the same model, but they stripped it and did this, this, and this. And they kind of laughed and they said, oh, you noticed that? And I'm like, well, yeah. And said, you can make more money because I ran the numbers. And I was with Scott Lewis, and Scott Lewis smiled and he said, I'm glad you get it. He goes, when are you joining? I said, I'll join right now, but I got to finish getting rid of my other company. So I was on that letter of intent, but they went ahead and started enrolling me and getting me going and stuff.
Yeah.
So by the end of October, I had dissolved my other, what I had before. And I started bringing other agents that wanted to stay with me over. And I had quite a few, I started off with 10 and then we started building from there. So it was nice.
Well, it seems to be a common refrain from some of the brokers I speak, including myself, just to being able to take all that responsibility as a broker and dump it off on the EXP model and just continue to expand.
Right.
And, so it does really, you get to the same place, just a different vehicle doing it. You're going to get to cross town in a Volkswagen just as easily as you are in a Ferrari. You might as well take the Ferrari if you can go that fast. But
sure.
So let me ask you this. Now, this is a little bit more of a personal question. I hope you don't mind me asking.
No, not at all.
This question, but I noticed that you had some medical challenges years ago, and after joining EXP, and it's something it's very. I find the story fascinating. And it's clearly it's near to your heart, no pun intended.
Slightly.
So, do you mind touching on that a little bit and telling us what happened there?
Yeah. So so back in 2017, we had just come back from EXP Con in Fort Lauderdale, and it was weird because before I went to Fort Lauderdale for EXP Con, this was early October. I think it was second week of October. I was feeling okay, but then I had this strain or whatever, and I couldn't figure it out. So before that, I'll say 2010, I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy. So athlete's heart is what they said. They couldn't figure anything out. My father had it before me. He was an athlete. I played sports my whole life. I played in college. I was just highly active. And so they treated me for that. And they said, yeah, your EKG was off. It shouldn't be off. And then they ran all these tests. This is 2010. So fast forward to 2017, I just wasn't feeling well. So I had a cardiologist that I would check in periodically. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling well. He said, hey, come on in. Let's get checked. And this was after I got back from Fort Lauderdale. And he said, no, you're looking fine. And I said, I just don't feel the same. So they ran an EKG. They ran a scan. They did a heart cath. And they said, no, Tony, you're good. You're good. You don't have blockage. You don't have to worry about that. Your cholesterol is good. Everything was great.
Let me ask you this. I mean, because obviously you spent a fair amount of time dealing with this issue. How did that impact your livelihood?
Okay. So crazy enough, I was pink slipped, right? So I was unable to work. I was unable to do anything. I could barely walk. When I got out of the hospital, my son had a basketball tournament, and literally I could see where he was playing because it was behind the hospital and where my room was. And so when I got released, they took me to his game, and I was like, why am I having a hard time walking? And they said, oh, you're going to have a hard time walking. Don't worry about it. You are. So I said, okay, but I didn't realize that my heart had suffered so much damage that
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That wasn't going to be.
Were you at EXP at that time?
I was.
Uh-huh.
I had been with EXP for 1 year.
Uh-huh.
1 year. I built a revenue share in that 1 year because I was focused on it. Sure. So I had about 86 agents on my team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a revenue share. Yeah. And really, I mean, let's put it this way. I couldn't work. I went to a listing appointment months later. I couldn't even walk up the stairs.
Wow.
Okay. It was bad. I had a heart vest. I had medication. I had all this stuff. And, doctors still were like, I don't really know what's going on with you. And I'm like, how do you not know what's going on with me? So finally I don't know how many cardiologists, but I had this one gentleman just tell me, he says, well, the electrical issues in your heart, they're misfiring. He says, your heart is electrical. He says, it's like having a battery in your car. If it's not working right, your car ain't going to go anywhere. Right. So, So,
well, did that, with the revenue share of EXP, I'm assuming that helps sustain your livelihood, for lack of a better word, while all of this going on?
No, it did. Let's put it this way. Had I been anywhere else on my own? No.
It would have been disaster.
Had I been with the first company? Absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, there was no income. I had no income. Right. The second company, not really, because back then it wasn't really, recruiting. I had a few people that I brought over.
Right.
Or brought over to Keller Williams, and I didn't make any money. Wow. So in a short period of time, I built 86 agents. So in my second year, which I didn't work, I still had an income coming in, which was great. And I had stocks, and everybody laughed at the stocks that we had because they weren't worth anything. But I will tell you later on, when they did, go up to $170 a share and split 2 for 1, I had to sell a lot of my stock off to pay for the bills that I had for
sure. Wow, that's amazing.
So I went through a year of that, and actually this was during 2018. I don't remember a lot of 2018.
Sure. Well, that's almost like with the revenue share. It's almost like just getting referral fees for everything that goes on in your group.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's what a blessing that was to be able to join EXP and have that many agents that can help sustain you while you were going through all that trauma. So I mean,
right.
Good for you.
I mean, it's an incredible system that I saw right away. And I said, wow, I can make money doing other things than just buying and selling real estate. I could actually build a livelihood. I can build a retirement. I can do things that I couldn't do at a traditional brokerage. I couldn't do it in my own brokerage.
And it helped keep you alive. Keep you alive. So that's why I find that the whole story is so fascinating. So, well, anyway, I know I've way overstayed my time with you, and I appreciate that. What I would like to do, Tony, is if you have anybody that's interested in the San Antonio area, reaching out to you, others, buyers, sellers, investors, or agents for that matter, what's the best contact information for you?
So the best way really to reach me is by text, just because my phone gets inundated with calls, and I've had my number since 1990 something, so it's an old number.
Yeah, if you want, I'll put it below in the remarks section.
Yeah,
below the video. So if you want people to reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Area code 210-389-2089.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
So if anybody would like to reach out to Tony and talk about his journey to EXP and the benefits that he found, by all means, give him a shout. Text him. Set up appointment. That's how I ran him down.
Text message is the best way. And I usually respond right away. So, but that's probably the easiest way. And if you want to, I can even expand on my story when you do reach out to me.
Camera issues here for some reason, so probably be good reason to think
reach
here.
out.
But Tony, thank you so much for spending the half hour with me. And,
Don, I greatly appreciate you reaching out to me and anytime, because this is good. I enjoy it, and I appreciate being able to give me a quick interview. I love it. Thank you so much, Don.
Yeah, no worries. And folks, again, reach out to Tony anytime. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me as well. I'm easy to find, and you can always leave a comment below on the remarks section. So, Tony, thank you so much again, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Likewise, Don. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.